Members of council, we are now live on YouTube.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I'll now call this City of Brantford Special City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, have you taken the roll?
I have, your Mayor.
Okay. So I'll, just as we always do, run through the rules of procedure for this virtual meeting. All members should remain muted during the course of the meeting unless you're speaking. All web cameras for council members shall be turned on and left on so you can be counted for quorum. Any member of council should indicate they wish to speak by going into the participants box and pushing the raised hand button. Staff will take your hand down once you finish speaking. In the event that we experience a connection or service interruption, we'll attempt over the course of 15 minutes to reestablish quorum. If we can't, the meeting will then be adjourned. Members of the public who register as delegates are able to take part electronically via webcam or via telephone for meetings. All other rules, normal rules for delegations continue to apply. So we'll move on. We have one issue we're going to deal with today. Does anyone have a declaration of pecuniary interest they wish to make regarding this particular item we're dealing with this afternoon? Not seeing anybody speak up. So resolutions, Councillor Wall, if you would please move your resolution and state your seconder if you have one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. 4.1, face covering support for the community, moved by myself, seeking a seconder. Councillor Utley. Thank you very much. 4.1, face covering supports for community. Whereas on July 14th, City Council enacted a mandatory face covering in public places bylaw. And whereas City Council allocated $20,000 of funding for face covering from the Council Priorities Fund to be used to provide masks to members of the community sourced from local providers where possible who may not be able to afford them, and that this program be in coordination with the Neighbors Helping Neighbors campaign, neighborhood associations, and other key partners, including reaching out to said partners to contribute to a kid-friendly reusable mask campaign. And whereas 28 face coverings were secured by staff and distributed to the community by over 30 partners, including locations like the Brantford Public Library, Salvation Army, Brantford Food Bank, and various neighborhood associations. And whereas community members were extremely appreciative of the program and all requests for masks were fulfilled when the program was initially launched. And whereas the mandatory face covering in public places bylaw continues to be in effect. And whereas the community remains in need of reusable face coverings, now therefore be it resolved, A, that $20,000 be allocated from the Corporate Contingency Reserve, RF0554, to secure face coverings for the community, and B, that staff be directed to coordinate with Neighbors Helping Neighbors campaigns, neighborhood associations, and other key partners in distribution of the face coverings. And if I can speak to this, Mr. Mayor?
Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I said it when we originally did the face covering bylaw, that if this municipality is going to ask that everybody take as much precautions as they can to protect against the spread of COVID-19 and to look out for one another, and we were going to make it a bylaw, that we should also be a part of making sure that everybody has the opportunity to be able to have a face covering. And I'm a huge advocate for the reusable ones. I know the Neighbors Helping Neighbors campaign is an incredible campaign, and I know that many people are choosing to use a cloth face covering of some sort. And I just think that this is just the municipality doing its part to making sure everybody's as safe as possible. And I'm very thankful to this council for supporting it the first time, and I hope I can count on your support the second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Councillor Utley, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to second this resolution from Councillor Wall. It's the right thing to do at the right time. I do have a question. And that is to through you to staff, is how long or do we know how long the first batch of face coverings last that we funded? Did we run out early, or did that $20,000 we initially approved, did that last as long as expected?
Through the chair to Councillor Indy Hans, General Manager of Public Works. As of today, we've distributed 2,300 masks and 500 children's masks. We do have community organizations requesting for this exact resolution. They are requesting, we've received a request for 300 additional masks from one community group. So this would go a long way to continue the fight against the pandemic and helping our community out.
Thank you, Indy. That's very useful to know. Thank you very much.
All right, Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, maybe our general manager of public works could tell me, or in engineering, how much have we paid for the last batch of masks?
Through the chair, I might need to call on general manager of, our treasurer to answer that question there.
Thank you, Indy. Through you, your worship, to date, we have spent $19,850.
Yeah, but how much are we paying per mask? Do we know if we're paying, we're getting a bargain on our masks? Are we overpaying, or what's the cost?
Through the chair, we paid $7 a mask.
And are these all N95s then? Is that why we're paying $7? It seems like a high price per mask.
No, these are reusable masks, the washable ones.
All right, thank you. And how much is left in the contingency reserve fund that we're talking about here?
Again, through you, your worship, in the contingency fund, there is approximately $613,000.
And the council priorities fund, how much is in that one?
There's, for all intents and purposes, nothing left in that one because that will be used to help mitigate our casino deficit.
All right, thank you. And just for the comment, I will support this resolution. I also think that we should be, as a council, think about the many requests we've got from members of the community to increase our face covering bylaw to include common areas such as hallways and elevators. We're not protecting those residents. We've somehow skipped that by saying we can't enforce it, but I think the most people will abide by regulation if we were to do that. So if we're not going to do that shortly, I'll be bringing a notice of motion to do that. Thank you.
Right. Yes, Mr. Hutchings.
Brian Hutchings, CEO. To Councillor Carpenter's question or query, that's to be discussed tomorrow. The provincial regulation has just been brought out on Saturday, Councillor Carpenter. We're looking at that. It does refer to inside condominiums and apartments. We're going to see if that supersedes our bylaw for the time being. We're not sure. We're getting a legal opinion on that tomorrow and discussing that tomorrow, our EOC, and you'll see a communication on that. And then, yeah, we'll be issuing a communication that tomorrow. So, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll just speak to this very briefly. I agree with Councillor Wall. Thank you, Councillor Wall, for bringing this forward. I think we did give an undertaking of the community that to help those that can't afford masks, and clearly there are people in our community that would not be able to afford masks, especially at the cost of a reusable one. And reusables are definitely the way to go, so you don't see as much trash. And people can reuse them over the course of time. They could be more economic. So I'm quite happy to support this because clearly we're going to have some kind of face covering provision in place, either municipal or provincial, I think, for at least several months more, if not longer. So anybody else want to speak to this? Just want to note that we do need 2/3 support for this resolution to pass the bylaw because, of course, where the money is coming from, the corporate contingency fund. So not seeing anyone else with a raised hand. Madam Clerk, if you'd call the vote.
Councillor Wall, we're just waiting for your response. Item 4.1, face covering supports for the community has carried on a recorded vote. Those voting on favor, Councillor Sless, Martin, Antosky, Wall, Utley, McCurry, Carpenter, and Mayor Davis. The vote has received a 2/3 required.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Then to make sure that staff are actually able to purchase face coverings, we need to pass a bylaw confirming what we've just done. So I understand Councillor Celeste, you have the motion for first and second reading of the bylaw.
I do, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself seeking a seconder that for bylaws first and second reading, that leave be given to the mover and seconder to introduce the following bylaws for first and second reading, namely bylaw 167-2020, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the city of Brantford with respect to the special council meeting held on October 6, 2020.
And I believe Councillor Antosky was the first to second that. So Councillor Antosky, if you could confirm that, please. You're still willing to second?
Yes, please to second. Thank you.
Okay. So any discussion on the bylaw, first and second reading? Not seeing any raised hands. Madam Clerk, if you please take the vote.
The first and second reading of the bylaws has carried on a recorded vote of 8-0. Those voting in favor, Councillor Celeste, Martin, Antosky, Wall, Utley, Mercuri, Carpenter, Mayor Davis.
All right, Councillor Martin, if you could please read the resolution for third reading.
Certainly, I move, seconded by Councillor McCurry, that bylaw number 167-2020 be read a third time and finally passed and signed by the mayor and clerk.
Thank you. Any discussion at third reading? Seeing no raised hands, Madam Clerk, you please take the vote.
The third and final reading of the bylaws have carried on a recorded vote of 8-0. Those voting in favor, Councillor Celeste, Martin, Antosky, Wall, Utley, Mercuri, Carpenter, Mayor Davis.
Right. I'm not actually in City Hall right now, but I promise everyone that I am going into City Hall for the Cal meeting night. First thing I'll do is sign the bylaw. So with that, I'll declare this meeting adjourned and we'll be reconvening at 6 o'clock, Committee of the Whole with Councillor McCreary in the chair.